So they're not interchangeable, at least not exactly interchangeable. There will be folks that are saying, well, I've been studying the 601, and perhaps in your mind, and you may be right, that there's just too much. There's just too much content. There's too much exam objectives, too many command lines, too much in the encryption side. There's too many things to know with the basics of attack types. There's way too much. Too much. And I need something that can be a smaller group of things that I need to memorize. Okay, well that's a reasonable reason for moving from the 601 to 701. But you should know that you're starting over. You're going to need to get a 701 book. You need to go through 701 videos. You need to get everything you have needs to be now moved over to the 701. So there may be a cost associated with that. Because of that, if you are in this situation where someone has been taking the 601 exam, you've been studying from your 601 books, you've been watching the 601 videos, and you've been taking the 601 exam, and you've been getting better every time, I think it's time to take the 601 exam again. I don't see why you would abandon it now when we're at the very end. Give yourself one more chance. Now, the disadvantage of that, of course, is financial. Taking an exam has a cost associated with it. I'm not oblivious to that. And so I'm saying, if cost was not an issue, of course you would take the 601, but cost is an issue. So you need to evaluate this yourself. You need to grab the exam objectives, you need to go through them, and really go through each objective bullet by bullet, and say, yes, I know that objective, or I do not know that objective. You can do this in an hour today. Go through that entire list of the 601, and look at it and say, do I know 90% of this content? 90. Do I have a pretty good grasp of these objectives? If you're looking at this list and you say, I know 75% of it, that's not good. At that point, you're going to need to make a tough decision about, do I study an additional 15% of these exam objectives before the 31st of July? Or do I not pay for that exam and instead invest that money into new books, into watching videos, and focusing on what is admittedly a less extensive exam, but still has half of it stuff I already know, or a good chunk of it I already know, and I just have to learn the new stuff.
We see you, the comparison shopper, the value seeker who can spot a good deal a mile away. And we've got you, because at Columbia Southern University, our cost per credit is lower than most other online degree programs. Don't just take our word for it. Our cost calculator lets you see how CSU's affordable tuition measures up against other online programs nationwide. Try it out now at savewithcsu.com. See how much you could save. See yourself at CSU.
The holidays can be a lot, but with your new Dell PC with Intel inside, you can handle a lot. From taking care of holiday to-dos to taking care of Aunt Jean, even if she can be a lot.
Either way, both strategies are good, but you need to find the one that works for you based on your knowledge and how you feel about what you have learned up to this point. It is a personal decision. I just don't have the right answer for you, but
how are you guys doing? How are you guys doing? What am I streaming for?
What you do know, and the exam objectives would be a great way for you to do that.
So I'm currently streaming my IT classes. So I'm currently getting all my certifications in IT, particularly cybersecurity. So that's what in this particular stream. I have different streams that I do, but in this particular stream, that's what this is pretty much. The entire process.
Very clearly with an open mind on what you really know from the objectives, and you look at it and go, I only know 75% of this. If I take this exam again, it's not my best chance for passing.
Oh, Tracy, I'm not sure if I answered your question. I was looking at my computer down here. But if I answered your question, give me a thumbs up, let me know, or just drop another comment and I'll answer you.
Let's see how we do with this one. More acronyms questions. Thanks for sending those in. I think we went
How are you guys doing? How are you guys doing?
Someone asked, what's the difference between 601 and 701? Just did that one. That was good. Let's keep going through this list. Some good stuff in here. A lot of things we've covered already, so I'm sort of skipping over a lot of duplicates that are in this list. And we will kind of focus on what you need to be able to get your hands on these things. Here's what I do when I think, how realistic analyst. Plan is to get Security Plus, CISA Plus, at-home projects, courses on tools specific to the industry, but I do not have formal education, do not have IT experience.
How are you guys doing out there? How are you guys doing? How are you guys doing?
If you look on the internet of marketing of cybersecurity, or what the industry is calling cyber, I'm going to get cyber. I really don't like those terms, cybersecurity or the term cyber, because it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't have any perspective. There's no idea of what you're talking about when you describe those things. This is why I often describe the flavor of security in the world of information technology as IT security, because I think that really defines the part of the organization that is responsible for maintaining and setting up your firewalls, your intrusion prevention, your authentication systems, your VPNs, your encryption technologies, your certificate strategies, and you're focusing on the protection of your company's data. That's an IT security profession. And that could be a security engineer, it could be a security analyst, it could be a security consultant. The same terms sort of apply for all of these. But one of the things that the internet does a really bad job of is telling people that they could jump right into a security role right out of school with all they need is like a degree. You just need to go through this boot camp and you are qualified to be a security professional. That's not exactly how IT security works. There are, first let's kind of define a few roles. There are entry-level roles in our industry. And when I say entry-level, I mean it's a job you get into without having any other type of IT experience. That's an entry-level position. Many entry-level positions you're probably familiar with. It could be someone working on a help desk or a service desk. That's a very common entry-level position into IT. One of my first entry-level positions into IT was as a field service technician. There's a bunch of stuff you need to fix today. Go to the customer.
How are you guys doing? How are you guys doing?
Beginner role in IT. One of the things that you don't see a lot of in IT, relative to the IT field in general, are positions that are entry level in the world of IT security. That's because IT security expects you to already have a baseline knowledge of operating systems, networking, and security technologies. So the only way you get that foundational knowledge in operating systems, networking, and security technologies is to have already been in those roles.
How are you guys doing out there?
A workstation administrator, a server administrator, a Linux administrator, a network administrator, a network planner, a designer. You're troubleshooting networks. You're looking at packets and understanding protocols. You're implementing monitoring systems for all of these. That's what gives you the foundational knowledge that you can use as a springboard up into the world of IT security. Unfortunately, a lot of places online tell you, oh no.
How are you guys doing? How are you guys doing?
Each game that I've seen has their own in-game currency.
Children normally invest a lot of money into aesthetics, into cosmetic packs, into the in-game items that.
How are you doing? Doing very good.
To give their kids a credit card, thinking that what can happen? $1.
You can't really forbid it, right? You can't
Doing a lot of studies, getting certifications and things like that.
If his peers play and he doesn't play, you're like, you're out. Right, everybody, welcome back to our new episode of our podcast, Cybercrime from the Frontline. Today we're talking about
Roles already available out there, just go get one. And indeed, there are some entry-level security roles out there, but they are entry-level in the most entry-level form of this. One of the most
You're in
example,
you're in middle school currently?
you're working in a SOC, SOC, a Security Operations Center. This is usually a very large company that has parts of their organization all over the country or even the world, and they need one central place,
Okay.
one of many central places, where they monitor all of the security for their
I've done a lot of schooling, also work as well,
very large.
but I always try to keep learning, so that's the reason why I'm still getting certification in an entirely different career field,
Very big geographical area.
and so that is what I'm currently doing as well.
Because those roles tend to be very specialized. But they do have a couple of roles that are entry level, and you're basically on the phones triaging. Take these calls.
So I'm going through the certification process of
You get to point out
IT in the IT career field. These certifications will be an A plus, Net plus, Security plus, and a CYSA. These are all
it's not technical.
these are all
It's not that
technical titles under the IT certification.
middle of it, and you can be a sponge, and you can see what other people are doing, kind of get a feel for what's going on. Those roles.
So IT is the information technology field.
And as I've said, relative to all of the other entry-level positions available in IT, that is a small, tiny sliver of available jobs. Why would I tell you to go after that many jobs when there's this many available in the industry?
You're an airplane pilot. That is interesting. That's
That doesn't make any sense. But that's what the
that's lovely.
tells us. Oh, you need to go
Just about anything that you're interested in doing, you can do it. If it's something that you need to study for, you can study for it and do it.
boot camp. You need to get your security.
No, that's that. If that's something that you do or something that you're interested in, it's fine. I'm not,
Side of things. It to work that way. What you hear all the
an
time
absolute congratulations for
we have a
being able
shortage
to do
of
that.
trained security professionals in IT. We do. Absolutely do. But we're not saying what you don't hear is we have a shortage of trained boot camp security professionals in IT. We don't have that. We don't want that. We need people in security, in IT security, who have already built the knowledge. That's the problem. That's why there is a shortage. Because we've already pulled those people out of the networking groups. We've already pulled those people with the knowledge into the security realm. Now we need more. There's none left. So we have to now wait for people to get up to speed. We need to get more experience of workstation administrators, server administrators, Linux administrators, network administrators. We need more of those foundational knowledge people to finally get that knowledge. Well, that takes time. That takes years to build up that level of knowledge. So once they get to that point, now we can pull them into an entry-level security. Entry-level security is rungs up higher than entry-level IT. And that's why when people are trying to figure out, how do I get into IT security? It's more than, oh, I just got this credential. Oh, I just got this degree. No, that's just the beginning. That's just your foray into the role. Now you have to now learn everything about the operating systems and the networking and the security technology.
I'm not sure if you'll be able to put the pictures in the chat per se, but I think you should be able to put it in my community section.
That's wrong. There's plenty
Because I'm not sure if YouTube will let you put it in the chat, like in the actual live chat.
available.
It's based on their limitations. But in my community section, you should be able to at least put things there. It just have to be according to YouTube guideline.
Better about setting.
But I think you should be able to put it there.
Security, you earn it. You work towards it. How do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice, practice, practice. There is some thought behind that. You need to learn all of this before you are ever able to get on that stage. And so it's a process, it's a strategy, it's a step, but you can absolutely get there.
So
There is a
go to my own
path
page.
to get to that point.
So if you click on the name, the channel page, it'll bring you to the home page. So click on there, go to the home page, and then scroll to the tab that says community or community posts. And that should at least bring you there.
First responders need to quickly access technology. When forced to remember and enter long, complex usernames and passwords, often multiple times per shift, it is not only
Where you want to learn about operating systems, where you start gathering this information and putting it into your foundational knowledge, putting it on a resume, and then showing someone else, look at all these things that I've learned through the years, I'm now ready for security. That's how you become a security professional. That's what we need in our industry for security professionals. It's very difficult to find, but if you have a way to map that out, if you in your mind would like to build your pathway to get to that point, there's lots of ways to get there. You just need to find the way that works for you. And sometimes it's one that is a quick path. Sometimes it winds around. Sometimes it shows up when you're least expecting it. That's how I got into security, was a phone call out of the blue from someone I had worked with years ago who said, I'm going to this company. They're a startup. Nobody's ever heard of what they got. They've got something nobody else has. Wouldn't you like to come along for this crazy ride? And I said, well, let's give it a shot. Let's see if they'll have me. And they did. They didn't want me. I begged, no, please. And they said, okay, we'll let you on, but you really got to prove yourself. And so I got in the door. And that was my foray into security. I wasn't even looking for it. I wasn't even thinking about it. And it literally fell out of the sky and hit me on the head. That phone call, as I was driving along from someone I had not heard from in years, one of the best things that ever happened to me. One of those things you don't think about at the time. It's just a phone call. Well, it's good to hear from him. But it directed and changed the entire course of what I did from that point on. Those things happen in this career all the time. You just have to be ready for it when it happens. The only way to be ready for it is to already have a plan. Even though I did not have a specific strategy lined up, I had built the foundation in operating systems and networking and technology and communicating with people and my writing skills. All of these things work together. That's how you build and put together your best strategy for becoming an IT security professional. Well, I think that's a great place to stop. I've been talking a little bit more across the top of the hour that probably you are ready for, but I appreciate you hanging in there. And thank you for being here in this first hour as well. I do enjoy the Q&A that we did. You surprised me a little bit at the beginning, and then we got some difficult ones there, but we made it through. And I will have more questions for you next month as well. If you like this video, we would love it if you could give it a thumbs up. This is something you can do for free that would make my day. And if you really want to make our day, go over to our YouTube channel and subscribe there. We'll be putting out some new Network Plus videos, hopefully today, maybe tomorrow. There's always new content we're putting out there. There's new live streams we're doing all the time. We would love for you to come back and join us for those as well. We got a lot more coming up in August. We can't wait to have you back for those. And for those of you working towards your 601 exam, you got about 5 days left. You bear down, get it done. Study those exam objectives, get in there, earn that certification, and if things don't go the way you were expecting, we are here with the 701 on the other side. We will get you through that one. Doesn't matter. It's a win-win either way. Think of it that way. Thanks for joining us. Thank you for being here. We do enjoy these study groups. We appreciate you joining us as well.
variety of forms, including operating system, application, and desktop virtualization. Managing and securing virtual machines on premises and in the cloud, as well as application containers, has become the norm for cybersecurity analysts. In this course, I'll start with a discussion that points out the differences between operating system, application, and desktop virtualization. I will then configure a Microsoft Hyper-V host. Next, I'll cover application containerization concepts, followed by installing Docker on Linux, as well as managing application containers on Linux, And lastly, I will install Docker on Windows and manage application containers on Windows. This course can be used to prepare for the CS0-003 CompTIA Cybersecurity Analyst Plus exam.
Morning, guys.
Why is Jeff Bridges here?
I'm studying to be in a T-Mobile commercial.
Cybersecurity analysts must be aware of the various types of virtualization because sometimes performing threat hunting on just a host unto itself without knowledge of virtualized stuff running on it is a problem. You could be missing things. Virtualization comes in many forms, such as network virtualization, storage, operating system or OS, application, and desktop virtualization. Virtualization happens through software that runs on physical hardware.
Okay, you've had a picture there. I'll take a look at it.
You need a
Hey, how's everybody doing out there in virtual world?
It can be a standard,
Yeah.
but it's got hypervisor
Since that canvas came
software
up,
on it.
my
that's
kids
designed to regulate
kids screaming at
access
me
to
right now.
resources
This sounds funny.
virtual machines.
YouTube is telling me things
So,
are okay.
With network
looks like every student in my
virtualization,
CC
it
is
can
trying to
apply
get their
either
stuff
premises, or it could apply in the
on
cloud.
campus.
Oh, so what you're hearing
But I'm
is
here if you need me. Hey, Zeus.
the proctor,
Hey, Zeus.
basically a
I
teacher.
think he took off for his exams.
So the proctor is basically the professor that focuses on the subject that I'm currently learning. But it's called a proctor.
In that way, you're able to.
But yeah, so that you'll hear that in the background, and also a learning video as well that I'm listening to, which is a subject-based video.
All over the place. We have folks checking in from Ohio and Iraq and Dallas and Maryland.
So it's a lot of information. So that's the reason why you'll hear a constant like chatter of information just coming, and it's IT based or subject based.
It's a little cloudy out today. Now, why am I seeing multiple chats? This will not do. There's just too much going on there. Let's pop out the chat. Pop out the chat. Pop out the chat. There we go. That's better. Hope everybody's doing well. Where do I stay? We are a Florida-based company, so I am in Florida.
Crucial.
Florida.
Operating system or OS virtualization means we've got a virtual machine running on a hypervisor host, so the entire OS is contained within the virtual machine. You start the virtual machine, it's like firing up a physical computer with that OS installed on it. Naturally, if you're running multiple virtual machines on the same hypervisor host, you have to make sure you have the correct amount of hardware resources to run those properly. Then we have application virtualization, which means that we've got a specific app and its related files that are stored within a logical boundary. Now that could be a virtual file system through some kind of application virtualization software installed on a host. It means that when the software is installed and runs on the host, it's running within that logical boundary. It did not get installed in the actual host's operating system, file system, or it didn't modify the Windows registry, that kind of thing. Or it could be an application container. We'll be focusing on that more later when we focus on Docker. Desktop virtualization means that we've got a thin client device, such as a desktop with very limited computing power, or it could be a tablet, for example. And from this thin client, we can access a full desktop with a whole host of software that might be installed. And all of that is actually being run remotely on a central server. So there's limited compute power required on the thin client. It's all happening server side. Naturally, you need a powerful server if you're going to have a lot of this happening with concurrent user sessions at the same time. Virtualization also shows up in the form of storage virtualization. We can have virtual machine disks that use virtual disks that are attached to those VMs. The operating system, and for additional data disks, this could be on premises as well as in the cloud. And if you think about a storage area network as SAN, from the perspective of the storage consumer, it might appear that there is local storage available, but really, it exists over the network. That's another form of storage virtualization. And then there's redundancy,
Glad to
whether at
hear
the
that.
hardware or software level,
Otherwise,
using
you just sort of have to
RAID,
reset
redundant
everything.
array of independent
701 is
disks,
very different
meaning that we
example.
have a collection of
It's the
physical
same
drives,
topic, of
above
course,
which we
but
configure
a lot of things have
various
changed.
RAID levels
So
as logical
now that
drives.
we're all in 701, it's been a month.
Let's go through a couple of those common RAID levels like RAID 0, disk striping. Here we've got two disks. When you configure a RAID 0 disk array, it means that data is written across all of the disks in the array. So a single disk write is broken down into chunks or stripes, so that we don't have a single disk. The benefit here primarily is performance, especially in a writing environment. RAID level 1 is called disk mirroring. So we've got two disks configured as a mirror.
The Progressive Insurance guy.
So that when we have a disk write on one of the disks in the mirror, a complete copy of that
I don't know.
is written to the next disk in the mirror. Benefit here is performance, but also resilience.
I guess, I always say, we are more alike than, because it's like a world of human being, and I always say we are more alike than we are different. So, in a lot of ways, we may have similar features here or attributes or things like that. But sometimes you'll find that. Sometimes you travel to somewhere else and you'll see someone with similar features or even attributes or characteristics.
All disks in the array, parity information is never written on the same disk with its related data. It's always written on a different disk, because then, if you have 3 disks in your RAID 5 array, you can tolerate a failure of one disk. The recovery or parity information will exist on other disks for the data that was on the failed disk, and it can be rebuilt on demand in memory, although performance will be degraded.
Oh, have you uploaded the video, or have you had the video to the community section? Is it there?
How they work, as well as how they fall under the topic of virtualization.
Or submit a question for me to answer in the second hour. It's one-stop shopping. You just go to one place and it takes care of everything, which is kind of nice. I do have for you a question to see if that link works. So
in this demonstration, I'm going to be configuring a Microsoft Hyper-V hypervisor. What this means is on the Windows platform, I will be setting it up such that I can host one or more virtual machines on the Windows platform. And as a matter of fact, Microsoft Hyper-V is what's used in the background in the Microsoft Azure cloud when you launch various services. To get started here on my on-premises Windows server, I'm going to open up my Start menu and go to Server Manager, because that's where I will install Hyper-V from, although I can do it from the command line too if you really wanted to. Right here I'll click Add Roles and Features, and I'll keep going through the wizard. I'll keep clicking Next until I get to the point on this server where I can select Server Roles. Notice Hyper-V is here, but it's not already checked on, so it's not been installed on this host. I'm going to turn on the check mark. It asks if we should install the associated management tools. Of course, we do want that. So I'm just going to go ahead and click Add Features. Now, in order to install Hyper-V, the machine on which you are doing this, in the BIOS, or if it's a virtual machine itself, in the settings for the virtual CPU, it needs to have virtualization enabled. If not, you'll get a message here stating that that's not been done, and thus you cannot install and use Hyper-V successfully. So I'm going to go ahead and click Next, and I'm not going to install any old services. I only want Hyper-V. So it asks if I want to associate one of my physical network interfaces on this host and have a virtual switch created for it in Hyper-V. This would allow virtual machines on a virtual network switch to have access to my network that, in this case, my Ethernet 0 interface is connected to. I can always change that later. What are we doing now, though? And I'll click Next. We can also work with other specific features here, like live migration to move virtual machines among Hyper-V hosts without downtime, but I only have one Hyper-V server, so I'm not worried about that. I'll accept the default storage location for virtual hard disks and virtual machine config files. Now, virtual machine hard disks are going to take the bulk of the space. So if you have other disk volumes, and you should, besides the operating system volume drive C, then you can specify that here by clicking Browse. Alright, next.
yesterday.
Restart the destination server automatically if required. Sounds good.
There's a lot to
Install.
work through.
And then we'll just wait a moment or
These
two.
questions, these answers.
So once
but
the
now there's
server
only
has
one exam
restarted
to
and
study
we've
for,
signed in, which
and
I
it's
have
the
done,
SR
we should be able to go to the Start menu
Very
into
easy
Windows
for you
Administrative
to now
Tools, and
understand exactly
as you
what
might
to
guess in
study
the
because
H's,
you
we
only
should
have
come
one
across
choice, which is great.
Hyper-V Manager.
This is also
Now,
a
of
single
course, when it
exam
comes to
that you need
security,
pass.
we
Now,
need
you
All right,
to
everybody,
make
take a
sure
break if you need
our
one. 10 minutes.
host,
Passing score
because
that you need to
if
earn
this
is a
hypervisor host
750
itself is
on a scale from
compromised,
100
it
to
could
500.
mean
It's
that
an
all of
unusual
the virtual
scoring
machines on it
system,
are
but this is the
compromised.
way
For
they do it.
example, we've got a new
This is
virtual machine
exactly
here.
the
The
same
state
format
is
as the
off.
601 exam.
Well, over
It's
the
a
action
multiple
panel on the
choice
right,
test
I have a
primarily,
virtual
but there are a number of
switch
questions at the
manager. These
beginning,
are my
a handful
virtual
that you will
network
get
switches.
that are
Now, when we
performance-based
linked
questions.
Ethernet
We'll talk
0
more about
upon
performance-based
installation and let it create a virtual switch, it
Well, now we don't have
created
to worry about which exam
an
to take.
external type of
Unless
switch
you
which
have to
allows
be in a
external
different country.
connectivity,
Now, I mentioned the
as opposed to
601
an
exam
internal
was retired for
virtual switch,
English-speaking
which allows
countries. So there
communication
are other
between
versions of
VMs
the
and
601
also with those
that you
VMs
can
and the
take
host computer
in
itself,
other
this
countries
hypervisor
right
host.
now.
Whereas a
For people
private
that are
virtual
watching me, if
switch
you're in one of those other
only
countries,
allows
however,
communication
because
between
I'm still speaking
virtual
English at the
machines
moment. So
running on this
this is one of
hypervisor
those
that are
situations
connected
where
to
somewhere in the world,
the same
someone is
virtual
still taking
switch.
the
I'm going to
601
cancel
exam.
out of here
But
because
this is
when we go
their
into the
experience.
properties
Don't
of
worry
a
about
given
that.
virtual
For us,
machine, so if
everything
I
is
right
pretty
click on a
much gonna
virtual
be
machine and
the
go into
701.
settings,
And of course, we have
this
study
is where
materials.
I
All
have
of
the
our
option of
701
selecting
videos
network
are available for you
adapter,
to watch
where we'll
online
be able to
for free
choose
every
a
minute of
virtual
every
switch,
video. But we
such
also
as
have course
our
notes, practice
virtual
exams,
switch that
and
was
so
linked
much
to
more.
our
We have
physical
downloadable
Ethernet 0
versions of the
network
videos.
connection.
We have audio-only
So any
versions
virtual
of the
switches you
videos.
create will
You can
appear
find
in
them
this
all
list when you
on our website.
configure
If you'd like to learn more
virtual
about those,
machines.
find them at
Under security on the left, you can also enable a key storage drive so that you can choose to encrypt virtual machine disks within the OS using Microsoft BitLocker. So that would be done within the VM guest operating system. If we were to make a new virtual machine, right-click on the server in the left-hand panel, new virtual machine.
Were you referring to the
I'm just going to call this new virtual machine 2. The point here is I want it to be configured as generation 2.
photo that you've uploaded? I'm not sure if it's uploaded. I have to go ahead and check it.
Based options like secure boot. It will also support the virtual TPM or trusted platform module, which in the physical world is a security chip used for cryptographic operations, such as the storage of BitLocker encryption keys. I'm just going to go through and just basically create this shell of a virtual machine, because what I'd like to do is right-click on it, go into settings. Notice that we've got a security option on the left where we can enable secure boot. Now on machines that use a UEFI instead of the older BIOS, you can enable secure boot, which means that the operating system files on startup are checked for their validity, digital signature-wise. Otherwise, files whose signature cannot be verified will not be loaded, which could prevent boot up on the machine. But this is important because one way that attackers will attack machines with rootkits is by installing OS files that are infected, or somehow getting them on the machine. Now while we're here on the right, notice I can also enable Trusted Platform Module, or TPM. And this would be another way on Generation 2 Hyper-V virtual machines that we could then, within the guest OS, configure BitLocker. Now the Cybersecurity Analyst Plus exam will not be testing you on all of these intricate details. What's important are the concepts that we can do these types of things for VMs. If there are exam questions giving a scenario where you have to pick out what the best or the first thing you should do is to secure the environment, that's where having the knowledge of these feature sets in general can be very important.
And of course, we have a Discord server available. If you'd like to join us along with everyone else who's there studying for Great Plus, and other certifications, you can find it at ProfessorMesser.com.
Application containers have become all the rage when it comes to software development and running applications on hosts without really installing them on the underlying host operating system, because application containers run their own logical boundary. So because of this logical app isolation boundary, all of the components required for whatever the application happens to be, whether it's web-based or not, are self-contained. The container could be an entire application or just a single app component. So in other words, you could have a bunch of containers communicating with one another Even if they're spread across different hosts over the network, and individual app components might provide specific app functionality, but together they might comprise a single larger app. So there are many variations on how that can be structured.
It is only available with my
You could
set
say
bundles
that in a
only
larger
purchase
app
a
with
voucher.
multiple containers,
You can't
each
buy
of
that as
those
an
is a
individual book.
microservice,
This is a list
each
of all of
container.
the
Where you've
tips
got
and tricks
specific
that I've
app
accumulated
functionality.
for studying for
So
these
let's say you've got a web
certifications
application,
and
so the web server stack and the
taking
front end
the exam
pages that
itself.
users
There's
might
some tips
interact
and
with
tricks
if
that
it's
can
that
help
type
you
of app.
during the exam
It might be
session.
in one container,
Familiar with
but
what's
some of the
going on there,
specialized
look at those,
functionality
and you can
for
get that
authentication,
automatically
uploading,
on my
for
site
streaming
at
content, whatever the case is, they might be handled by different
So
individual application containers, different microservices, but they all work together to provide overall app functionality. So we know then that a single microservice could be in one application container. The great thing about this too is it also allows for app component decoupling. This means normally software developers will containerize specific functionality of an app. So you've got multiple containers working together, but those apps will communicate not necessarily in real time over the network where there would be a dependency on those components being available on the network, but instead developers might use message queues. A message queue is a temporary storage location where messages can be written to by one app component and then read by a different app component when it's available. It's almost like email for people, in that you don't have to all be online at the same time as you would be with a phone call. Pictured on the screen, we've got a diagram of the ecosystem related to application containers. Let's start at the bottom of the diagram, where we've got the host operating system. So this is a machine, whether it's a desktop, software developer's desktop, it could be a server because you're going to be running mission critical apps that are containerized. The host OS might be Linux based, it might be Unix, it might be a Windows variant, Mac OS, it doesn't matter. But what you need to properly run containers is the appropriate container engine. One of the more popular ones is the Docker engine. It supports running Docker containerized applications. So the Docker engine is an app, it's software that you install and sits on top of the host OS. Now, towards the top layer of our diagram, we have a number of application containers labeled as App A, all the way through to and including App G. So we've got 7 application containers, let's say, that might be running concurrently. They might all be independent and completely separate from one another. Some of them might work together, they might all work together for a single app. It doesn't make a difference. But the application container would store, essentially, the files needed to run whatever that app is. In our diagram below that, we also have bins, /libs, binaries, and libraries. So sometimes you might
associated with making a password more complex. It is simply one that makes a key longer or more difficult to brute force. And although more complex passwords is useful, the password itself is not associated with key stretching. It would be the encryption behind the password that would be associated with key stretching. So in this particular case, more complex passwords is not the same thing as a password that is better protected with a stronger key. It's a little bit different. So that's why in this case, it would not be more complex passwords. Also has nothing to do with storing the key. It is indeed having stronger encryption, and 65% of you got that one absolutely right. That is the right answer. That's the one we were looking for. And I think some of you may have remembered that from our live stream that we did last month. And of course, we will have a rewind question next month. It will probably be one of these that we do today. Now let's do some new questions though. I have one for you. These are at least the first new question that we like to do on these live streams is a performance-based question. Performance-based questions are questions that are not multiple choice.
Dear first place, with Toyota quality, you'll win the long game by a country mile.
This is something that is very common on the competitive exams, is the first set of questions you get will be questions that are blank. You have to put a drag and drop scenario. Maybe you have to put them in a particular order, maybe it's a matching question. There's all kinds of ways to ask a question on these exams, and the performance-based questions is simply another way to ask these questions. So I have for you today a performance-based question. Let's see how you do with the performance-based question we have for you today, which is one that asks you to complete the chart. This is effectively a matching question. We have a chart that has a set of categories and a set of control types. So we have a technical, managerial, operational, and physical set of categories. And then we have control types that are preventive and another set of control types that are corrective. Now, where do we match, or which ones of these do we match with those different sides? So for those of you listening on the podcast side, this is the different categories are a technical category, a managerial category, an operational category, and a physical category. For the preventive and corrective, we're looking for you to fill in 4 different blanks for each of those in each of those categories. And I have for you, this is more of a drag and drop question. The one that I have for you are 8 different options here on the right side. They are door lock, contact authorities, backup recovery, onboarding policy, firewall, guard shack, fire extinguisher, or policy for...
All right, everybody, welcome back from break. Welcome back. Finishing up these last 45 minutes. Go ahead and dig into your canvas.
Control type examples, either on the preventive side or the corrective side, and you should put them in the right category of technical, managerial, operational, and physical. This one's a little bit harder than some that we've done before, so I'm going to give you another minute or so to look through these. So of those 4 categories, technical, managerial, operational, and physical, we're looking to place door lock, contact authorities, backup recovery, onboarding policy, firewall, guard shack, fire extinguisher, or policy for reporting issues. We need to be able to drag and drop these into the right place. We'll have to see. Now, obviously, you're not going to be able to drag and drop anything, so I placed an A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H on here, and you can simply fill in A is door lock, B is contact authority, C is backup recovery, etc. Those aren't the answers, but you get the idea. That's exactly how you should submit those in the message that we have here. So it's effectively a fill in the blank that's going on out there. I can actually, you probably can't hear it in the mic that I'm using in the setup we have here, but there's a storm outside. I can hear the thunder going on. So hopefully our internet connection will remain up and running. I'm looking at the radar and I think it might skirt around this. So we are very lucky today that we are making that happen. Let's have you answer this one. We want to fill in the blanks on this one with all 8 of those different options. Have a look at what you think the answers are for this one. Those 4 categories of technical, managerial, operational, and physical. We want to fill in the different control types for a preventive control type and a corrective control type. We'll have to see what the differences are and being able to make that happen. So hopefully you're familiar with some of these. This is really, I think, the first video of the Security Plus series. So we'll have to see if this is one that you are familiar with. This should be pretty good. A number of you are submitting these, and of course, you can put them in the order that they are now. You can abbreviate this. This is really more for your reference when you input these and put them into this list. The important thing is that you remember what they are. See if you happen to know as you're stepping through the different options here. And this is only 2 of the different control types. I have other control types in the video. I just chose 2. Just to, I was about to say, to make it easier for you. I'm not sure that really makes it much easier when we're on this live stream, trying to figure out where to put these 8 different security controls. So obviously in the real exam, it would probably be a drag and drop, that we would drag it and drop it into the right place on this. Obviously, this is just an image on the screen that you have here. There's no drag and drop in the particular system that we are using. So we'll have to see if you can do it. Follow that link on your screen. Go to professormesser.com/QA and lock in your answer. See if you happen to know what this is. Let's step through each one of these.
When it comes to economy, each game that I've seen has their own in-game currency.
Children normally invest a lot of money into aesthetics, into cosmetic packs, into the in-game items that makes them stand out.
Parents prefer to give their kids a credit card, thinking that what can happen? $1.
You can't really forbid it, right? You can't say to the kids, no gaming for you. Because if his colleagues, if his peers play, and he doesn't play, you're like, you're out. Hi everybody, welcome back to a new episode of our podcast. Cybercrime from the front. Fraud, especially focused on. For that, I have my usual suspects. Thank you guys for joining, but more so even, we have a new guest on our show, Joanna, and then we have Katalin and Bogdan. Please tell me a couple of things about you. That's
a tough one. Hi everyone, I'm Joanna. I'm a product manager here at Bitdefender, and I'm here to talk to you about the emotional component of in-game scams.
Well, hello everybody. I'm the Chief Security Strategist for Bitdefender. Katalin is my name. And as I've been in other shows, we're going to be talking about cybercrime in general, but also on the specifics in the gaming industry.
Hi everyone, I'm Bob. I've been with Bitdefender for the past 17 years. I'm a director of threat research at Bitdefender, and I'm looking into malware.
Awesome. So thanks for making it. It's a very interesting topic. It's very specialized as well. It's kind of crazy to think about. Now, I am sort of a gamer myself-ish. Like I do play a couple of games. I know if we ask people are going to say they're not gaming, but then just kind of an impromptu question here in our studio, a lot of people actually do play various games. However, so in the past years, many years, gaming has been all over the world. There's been development in platforms, and tools, and the economies of the gaming industry that we were not really aware of. And in fact, a lot of adults, a lot of parents are completely unaware of the economies behind the games that kids play nowadays. And of course, to us in cybersecurity, that's very important because there's all of these attack vectors that are new and uncharted. In fact, I'm going to throw this right now, even go say as far as more scary things have happened by using terrorism has been coordinated attacks through game traps because they were hard to track. So I'm just going to throw it out there now and I'll probably expand on it later on. So what is game fraud, or should we say, should we talk about the economies a little bit so we get a little bit of background, and then what is it that we see and we can do about the phenomenon?
So when it comes to economy, each game that I've seen has their own in-game currency, right? Whether we're talking about Robux or V-currency or I don't know what other name. So when it comes to fraud, you have a couple of things, among which you have in-game currency being stolen through account takeovers, or another player convincing your kids to transfer them some funds for I don't know what rare item that they don't receive. Some games also use this in-game currency to either boost chances for winning or to get some extra time for extra moves or whatever. When it comes to in-game currency and economy, you open the door also to certain types of fraud and certain types of scams, as well as the story goes with currency in general. So what I've seen lately is that typically there are some websites that are advertised through Discord channels, through in-game chats, and the message goes along the lines of, hey, click here to claim your free insert in-game currency here. The problem is that the kid clicks on that link, they get a nice little screen with select your amount of currency, and it's 3,000, 5,000, 10,000, and other amounts. But when they click on claim, they get routed to another website where they see, hey, watch this ad to get your coins here, or take this quick survey. And it's not so
It's not free.
Yeah, it's never free. There are no free lunches.
Do they actually get the currency?
No, they don't. It's always click here to take this last survey, and then you're done. And it's never the last survey. And they end up giving their real name, their real address. They might even end up inserting their parents' credit cards.
So that's fascinating. In fact, there's a lot of kind of looking back. Most of online games are free, guys. To my knowledge, there's a lot of free games that do build on top of in-game currencies to purchase, like you said, rare items in the game, skins or who knows what, tools or whatever. Some of them are purely cosmetic, but they do help in boosting, the kids. And let's be frank here, it's not just kids, but we're focused on that part of the game community. So it just, it's a morale boost maybe on it's a prestige item when it comes to skins, but there's also pay to play, different items that actually make you win
So
at the game.
I stream now
Seen as unfair. Now,
every day during the week pertaining to this particular course that I'm doing. On the weekends, I have scheduled videos that
something that I don't know much about.
I have set for
No, that's actually a very good question.
around 8 o'clock
Let's get one view.
or after 8 on the weekends.
Get heated.
If I have more videos apart from that, I will put out a notification, or if it's just like a spur of the moment, then I may also have those from time to time. But for the most part, I try to give you guys an heads up, or at least hope that you get the notification when there is an unscheduled video going on.
Aesthetics into cosmetic packs, into the in-game items that makes them stand out from the crowd, while adults normally spend money to compensate for actions that would take a lot of time to accomplish.
Or lack of skill.
Yeah, take Pokemon Go for instance, right? If you don't have enough time to go raid gyms during the raid season, you will happily spend some money to get remote raid passes and join the battles remotely because you don't have the time or the energy to stroll across the city as the young kids would do. But once you do that, either you purchase a cosmetics pack or you purchase goods that make you advance faster in the game, you attach your credit card information to the game. So that in itself becomes valuable because whoever hijacks your account also has now access to.
I'm not sure on the exact subscribe amount, but once you click on the home page, you'll be able to see all the information there.
A little bit more easy into downloading, for instance, stuff that would apply these cosmetics. You have an exe file, an executable file that poses as a rare skin into a game, but once you install it, you get an info stealer that hijacks all the browser contents, including login sessions, cookies, credit card information, data stored in the browser, and then sends it to a third party on the agent. So there's a lot of danger, and we're not even barely scratching the surface because things get a little bit more complicated when we move away from traditional gaming, like gaming on mobile or on PCs to VR, which is a whole different world. But I think it's safe to bring that up later in the conversation.
But yeah, so you're looking at the whole space as I imagine parents being like, okay, the kid's playing a game, I know they're yelling and doing things, but they're spending 6 hours a day doing it, they're hanging out with their friends maybe, and that's great. How aware are they? I'd imagine they do get aware at some point when they being asked for a credit card to purchase certain items. So are they given an actual credit card? What's the typical, or they get like a gift card and then they use whatever they have on there, or?
It depends. So what I've seen is that typically parents feel like if their kid is at home and if they're safe,
Mm-hmm.
the parents are more in control.
Sure.
But the reality is a little bit different
Right.
than what this illusion of control, this perception of illusion of control gives us. Some parents prefer to give their kids a credit card, thinking that what can happen? It's $1 or $3 or $5 a month, because things are built, and you've noticed that as well. And they give you little rewards if you complete little tasks. And sometimes they give you a harder task to accomplish. And at the same time, a small screen pops up and tells you, hey, you can unlock this for 50 coins. You can unlock this for 20 coins. And adults struggle with impulse control, right? We all do that. But kids struggle a lot more with impulse control. They don't have the filters that adults have built in years of experience.
So how strong is peer pressure, for example? I imagine it's very hard for them that all the other kids have this kid, but they don't.
Yeah,
You don't want to make the purchase.
that plays a huge role as well. It goes back to what Bob was saying. That
There's no difference between wishing for a bigger car versus wishing for a bigger gun in a game. So yeah, we all do that. Like Ivana said, it's very difficult for us to lower our expectations in real life. For a kid who doesn't even have the value of money burned into their brains, it's like, there's a number there. What happens if I press a button over and over again? Yeah.
If I use CapCut, so
For the kid, it's like, okay, as long
no,
as
I've never really used CapCut before.
So, I mean,
I use Final Cut Pro,
The currency is $1.
but CapCut is really good as well.
You're actually paying
I've checked it out. I just haven't been using it, but it's really good. It has a lot of feature, and you can use that to post videos or to edit and create videos, and it's really good. But I haven't used it as much. I think it's something that I will eventually start to implement into things that I edit.
driving economies in the background that are empowering these microtransactions. Kids have all the motivation to, go on that rat race to get the rarest item or the latest thing, while using the game's communication channels or Discord. All of which are hard to supervise by a parent. Tell me about that.
I think there's a learning curve involved in supervising a child's online activity. And I think there's some prior knowledge that the parent needs to acquire somehow in order to be successful in monitoring their kid. The problem with that, and I'm sure you guys can confirm, is that parents have to acquire this knowledge on top of everything else, a job, running a household, taking their kids from soccer practice to school and from school to whatever other practice. The problem with this learning curve, aside from time, is that sometimes there's a lack of awareness of what these platforms themselves offer parents. So, for example, it was a surprise for me to find out that Roblox offers parental control. Did you guys know that?
Yeah.
I didn't. So you have to become aware of the fact that you need to monitor your kid's activity. Then you gotta find the perfect tool that will fit the needs of your family. And then you have to learn how to set up that tool. So that takes a little time. And I have good friends. I have a very good friend that has two teenagers, one teenager is even, one is 16 and the other is 14. And she kept complaining that she had no idea what her kids were doing online. Then I said, well, install some parental controls. Well, you know what the problem is? I don't know what to choose. I do not have time, and I have no idea how to set that up. It's hard.
And And on top of that, your kid will probably be able to shut it off because he's much more tech savvy than you as a parent.
Yep.
I think we have two types of parents here. So we're going to have the ones that are going to try to limit game time. They're going to set up parental controls. If they give them a credit card, it's probably going to be limited to some amount, or they give them gift cards, what you call it. And they're going to be they're going to pay attention to what the kid is doing online, right? Maybe even trying to see the conversations, or the parental control will notify them. But then you have the other category of parents, which are like super busy, and the kids, if they don't give them screen time, they're going to have to actually act as an entertainer for the kid. So it's like, yeah, go play. This sort of parent will probably not be aware of parental control software. It will be probably very scared into providing them the credit card, but if the kids will ask for pocket money so they can go buy their own gift cards, then they can actually have access to the money even though the parent is not giving a gift card. So you have these two types of parents, and the second type will not know what the kid is doing online. It's going to be like, if it's his computer, or the phone, or the tablet, so I can cook, I can clean the house.
And he's safe at home.
Yeah, exactly.
Not
It doesn't
running
go
around.
anywhere.
Which brings me back to my initial remark about VR. Gaming used to be done in the open on the family PlayStation, or back into the living room computer, or at least on the kid's mobile phone, whose screen can still be seen from time to time. But when the kid plugs in a headset, and whatever happens there is between him and the pancake lenses that he looks into, you're completely isolated, and you'll see him like wave his hands or do some sorts of gestures that you will not be even able to translate into what's going on into the movie, unless you're asking the kid to stream whatever he's doing on the family TV. He's completely isolated, and behind that isolation, it's not just fraud or harsh words. Bullying is a little bit more personal when you get surrounded in the virtual environment. I know that because it happened to me, and I'm a 42-year-old adult who was tasked with keeping my kid straight while he was out on Aikido camp. And I was like, okay, I can do that for you. I've been playing on modems. I've been loading my games from cassette tapes. How difficult can it be to push a button into a virtual computer once I put my headset on? I couldn't even move correctly because I didn't have the gestures for that. And B, all of a sudden I get surrounded by people asking for items. Hey dude, do you have anything for me? Because these kids had to exchange items in order to do their daily tasks. And do you have a fuse gun, I think, or something like that? I was like, hey, who are you, and why are you surrounding me? You're in my space. And they were like, yeah, I do. Yeah.
So, I mean, gaming is also the origin of swatting, right? So, I mean, it can have significantly distressing effects. When it comes to that, to explain what swatting is, when kids call a task force of a police task force on the other kids just because they get pissed off at the game. And, I think
that's the modern equivalent of I'm going to DDoS you to take you off the internet. Well, the police will take you into custody, so you will no longer be part of the game.
Right. And I still hear it a lot. It's one of those threats that kids throw around, like, oh, I have your IP, and I will find you,
and see if we know what these are. See if we think we know what these are. So I want to go through this entire chart, and we're going to fill in each one. We're going to drag and drop each one of these blanks and see what we can do with this. So let's begin this process. I'm going to leave the poll open on the link that's on your screen at professormesser.com/QA. If you wanted to submit those, you certainly could. Just remember what they are to be able to do it. So let's start with the very first one. In the technical category, we need a preventive control, and I would put a firewall into a preventive control type that is technical. A technical category is one that uses some type of technology to be able to provide security, and a very good security control is a firewall that can prevent traffic from flowing through your network. So that's a good one to start with, is the firewall. The technical side, we also need a corrective control type. A corrective control is one that, like the name implies, is going to correct this issue if we happen to identify it. I'm going to drag over the backup recovery as the one that we will use for this. Now this is one, of course, associated with that backup control type. The next list is the managerial category. On the managerial category, we need a preventive control. Managerial controls, if you think about what would your manager do to help prevent these types of security issues from occurring. So let's drag and drop an onboarding policy into that list. We can give you a list of things that you can do and cannot do, and we'll give that to you when you onboard, when you start with the organization. That's a very common preventive control type that is in the managerial category. We also have a corrective control that we need that is a managerial category. So we can put in a policy for reporting issues. If we run into a problem, we notice something is unusual, we notice that data isn't looking the way we would expect, or that something unusual is occurring in our environment with security, we need some way to get that notice back to the security team. Having a policy for that would be an important way to do that. Policies and procedures are very commonly put into the managerial category.
Scribe is how 4 million people turn processes into step-by-step guides. The hardest part of any job, I don't care where you work, is answering the same questions over and over. You're going to want to see this.
Our next category is the operational category. Operational categories are categories where we are performing some type of operation in our organization that can, in this case, prevent problems. And a good choice in that would be a guard shack. Very often operational categories are operational controls are controls that would involve people. So a guard shack would certainly involve a person who's checking cars or checking authentication for somebody to be able to gain access to a particular part of the facility. And then as a corrective control, we need an operational control that would correct things. Perhaps having that person contact the authorities would be a good way to correct a problem. Somebody happens to get in, or they notice someone who should not be there, we need to get people involved to have them trespass off the facility, and that would be a good way to do it. Operationally, we would have a human call the authorities would show up and take care of business. So that is the corrective control in the operational category. Now, our last category is the physical category. We need a control type under the preventive list. We only have 2 left. What can prevent someone from gaining physical access or having some physical device that can help us with security? Well, a good option for a physical device would be a door lock. Door lock certainly prevents someone from gaining access to an area unless they have the appropriate key to be able to unlock that particular door, window, or whatever's preventing them from gaining access. And then as a corrective, well, we only have 1 left, right? And the one that is left is a fire extinguisher. That is a physical device, certainly. It is something that can help us at a physical level, help us prevent wildfires. So have that fire extinguisher. There aren't any wildfires in a data center, but there can certainly be electrical fires. And sometimes there are actual fires of the building. So this might be something we want to consider as the fire extinguisher or the fire suppression system that we have in place. Those are the 8 control types that we would put into this category list. So we have under the technical category, under a preventive control type would be firewall, a corrective control type would be a backup recovery. Managerial category, our onboarding policy would be preventive, our corrective control would be the policy for reporting issues. Under the operational category, we have a guard shack to prevent any type of security issue, and we're contacting authorities as a corrective procedure. And then under the physical category, a door lock is certainly a physical control type, and that would prevent someone from gaining access. And then if we need to correct a problem, in this case a fire extinguisher certainly would apply. Well, that is our drag and drop performance-based question of the month. Hopefully, let's get you thinking about different control types, and there are other categories you need to be aware of. Make sure you go back and look at the video associated with this particular chart. There are many others that you could click on. One of the questions that came up in the chat room is, you could have gotten some of these right, some of these wrong. So there's a potential here that you could have gotten partial credit. But does CompTIA give you partial credit? Well, one of the things they have documented in their frequently asked questions file for performance-based questions, this is really on their website, they have said very definitively that in some cases, they might give you partial credit, which means in some cases they might not, I guess. They don't tell you when they're going to do it. You have no way to determine if you got partial credit. All they've really told you is, we might, or we might not. I would like to think in a question like this that we would get partial credit, but they don't have to give you partial credit. So the answer that someone said is, do I get partial credit? The answer is maybe, but we'll never know, which isn't much of an answer, but that's the best we got. We'll have to perhaps hope for the best. My particular perspective on this is, don't worry about how it's graded. Worry about if you know the content. If you know the content, it won't matter how it's graded. So that's my particular slant on that particular issue. Don't worry about the things that you have no control over. And certainly grading on this exam is something you have absolutely zero control over. Focus instead on the content and you'll do just fine. That's our performance-based question of the month. Hopefully that's given you some things to think about. Now let's shift gears back to doing some multiple choice-based questions. Next on our list is this question, and it asks, a user in the accounting department can view all monthly expense reports, but they cannot change or remove any of the data. Which of the following would be the most likely reason for this? Would it be full disk encryption, least privilege, digital signatures, host-based firewall, or expired password? Now, if you think you know the answer, please no answers in the chat room. Instead, you want to use the link on your screen. Go to professormesser.com/QA and lock in your answer. Go to professormesser.com/QA to lock in your answer. The question again asks, a user in the accounting department can view all monthly expense reports, but they cannot change or remove any of the data. Which of the following would be the most likely reason for this? Would it be full disk encryption?
You're talking about interaction, actually communicating back and forth. I have a lot of lives that I have scheduled upcoming. So that will be a lot of good content that's separately apart from this that I'm doing daily, career-based.
For whatever reason, they still ripped my stomach up. So when I got back to America, I was like, let's figure out what this is. And we called a bunch of manufacturers, and they use an ingredient called encapsulated citric acid that's just, made with processed oils and GMO.
Yeah, it'll be a good communication back and forth, ideas based on general knowledge. I think it's things that we can all learn from.
Okay, I'll try making this for you.
It's more about learning a lot about ourselves, really. If we can do it individually, then collectively, I think we can all do a lot better productively. So I have a lot of content coming, and I'm scheduling a lot of videos upcoming as well.
And then it just melts into the stick when it hits a certain temperature because it changes the pH of the citric acid, drops it, and then makes it shelf
And that
stable.
helps keeps it shelf stable.
It does.
Now you're saying you take the meat, you ferment it. So what do they mean? What's the fermentation process look like? You add bacteria to it.
Exactly. Yep. We just grind it up, add the organic spices, and then the bacteria, and then that drops the pH because it eats this carbohydrate
Password. Use the link on your screen. Go to professormesser.com/QA and lock in your answer. To see if you know what the answers are, and the best way to do it is to lock it in. A lot of people got their questions locked in fast on this one. I wonder if this is the one where, if we are looking at this particular question and this particular problem, whenever we get everyone sort of answering very quickly on what it would be, that this is one where I really think that we either really, really know it or we really, really don't. So we'll have to figure out if this is one of those cases. Let's see how you did with this one. The question again asks, a user in the accounting department can view all monthly expense reports, but they cannot change or remove any of the data. Which of the following would be the most likely reason for this? Say the answer is least privilege is what we would be working through. And indeed, in this case, that's pretty solid that it would be that particular situation. One of the things that you start to see when you're working in a world of IT security is we want to give people the right type of access and the right type of permissions for the job that they're doing. We do not want to give somebody more access than they are entitled to. This would cause a number of problems, of course. If everybody had admin access, then everybody could look at all data from everywhere in the network all the time. They could go to any share drive, they could look at any data, they could go through personnel files, they could go through accounting information, they could look at inventory details, even if their job had nothing to do with payroll, accounting, or inventory. So that's obviously a concern. Having someone have full control over looking at everything is obviously a concern. The other part that's a concern is what happens when an attacker gains access to a particular user account. If that user account has full access to every system, then the attacker now has full access to every system, and that's not what we would like either. That would also apply to any malware, any ransomware, or anything that might be malicious on the network, which is why least privilege is an important type of security consideration, especially in an environment where there is very high security. We want to give people exactly the right amount of control and access. And indeed, in this particular case, if somebody has access to a certain type of data but doesn't have access to other types of data, it's probably the case that somebody has correctly configured least privilege for that user. And whoever did that in their security environment did a good job, because that's exactly the way that it's supposed to work. Let's do some more questions. Next on our list is this multiple choice question that asks, a security team has just installed a new WAF. Which of the following would be the most likely use for this WAF? Should be a good one to go through. Let's see if it's one of these possible answers of manage encrypted tunnels.
Law enforcement and other authorized personnel need access to applications such as computer-aided dispatch.
Securely store web server certificates. Maintain uptime during a power outage. Block web-based application attacks. Or check a system for compliance. Now, if you think you know the answer, go to the link on your screen, go to professormesser.com/QA and lock in your answer. Please no answers in the chat room. Please no hints in the chat room. We're instead going to pretend we are taking the exam. We are answering this question in the online answer following the link that you see on your screen at professormesser.com/QA. It's got to be one of these, right? Let's see how well you do with this one. Again, the question asks, a security team has just installed a new WAF. Which of the following would be the most likely use for this WAF? Would be to manage encrypted tunnels, securely store web server certificates, maintain uptime during a power outage, block web-based application attacks, or check a system for compliance. Now, if you think you know the answer, and of course, when we work with security, we work with a number of different things. This is one of those things. But why would we deploy this? Why would we install this to be able to work through it? See if you happen to know the answer by locking it in. Go to professormesser.com/QA and lock in your answer. A number of you have already put that answer in. This one went a little bit slower than last time, I think. So I wonder how the answers be. I haven't looked at the answers on my screen. I haven't given myself any hints of what's going on. So we're going to figure this out in just a moment. Again, the question asks, a security team has just installed a new WAF. Which of the following would be the most likely use for this WAF? Would it be to manage encrypted tunnels, securely store web server certificates, maintain uptime during a power outage, block web-based application attacks, or check a system for compliance? What do we think the answer is? Is it another gimme, or did we maybe go the wrong direction on this one? Because this says 92% of you say it's to block web-based application attacks. But is that really the case? Is that what we would really do with a WAF? WAF stands for, of course, a web application firewall. This is not the firewall that you most commonly think about when you say the word firewall, which has traditionally been a device that allows or blocks traffic based on a traffic flow that's commonly associated with an IP address, a port number, or in many cases on modern firewalls, an application. But there's another type of firewall that goes a little bit deeper into the application data itself, and that would be a web application firewall, where it's looking to see what type of application traffic is being submitted. Is someone trying to perform some type of security attack against this application? Things like SQL injection is a good example of this. WAFs are very commonly used.
Oh, where you can check out my content, just click on the channel name and go to the home page.
Unknown SQL injections, but WAFs are very good at finding situations where someone is trying to perform a SQL.
All the tabs are there. You'll have
where a WAF might be used. And in this case,
you'll have the videos, the shorts,
based application attack is one that fits best in this
live stream, the playlist.
Managing encrypted tunnels is not a perspective of a WAF. WAF's very unusual.
I also have content that I'm scheduling now,
Tunnel configuration. That's usually.
so I'll try to keep consistent with those. So a lot of good stuff coming up.
VPN concentrator. Securely storing web server certificates. There's lots of ways to do this, but HSMs are very commonly used for that. We've got maintaining uptime during a power outage. That's something you might apply towards a UPS, not towards a WAF. And then checking a system for compliance can be done with either our own compliance system, especially made compliance software, or with perhaps some type of intrusion detection software or some type of scanning device. So there's different ways to check a system for compliance, but in this case, the one that fits the best is the one that most of you chose. Indeed, that's the one that you selected, block web-based application attacks, and you would be absolutely correct. That's what we would do with this particular problem. Well, as we've already seen, we've gone through looking at security controls. We've talked about a WAF. We've gone through a number of different security descriptions of different topics. And as you can see, the Security Plus exam is a very broad exam. It covers everything from the security controls, encryption types, being able to understand how to design and set up your security policies, understanding how you would manage risk management and mobile devices, and so much more. So one of the things that I've done is I've taken everything that's in every one of my videos and I put them into a single document. These are my course notes. My course notes are designed to give you a summary of every video so that if you want it, for example, there's the security control chart right here at the top. You've got all of the different text, all of the important graphics, all of the important tables. I've taken everything that you need to have in one single place as a summary so that after you are done watching these videos, you have a set of notes that is the most comprehensive set of notes you're going to find for Security Plus. These are my course notes. They're available not just in the PDF form that you just saw, there's also a physical form as well. It's obviously exactly the same as the PDF version, but it's one that you can take around and you now have a physical book that you can carry around with you. The physical book itself is one that provides you not only with the physical piece that I will mail to you, but when you purchase the physical edition, you also get the digital PDF for free, which certainly helps as well. So if you wanted to have some centralized form of notes that can step you either through every video as you're watching, or have some set of notes that are available after you've watched the videos, this is a great way to do it. Go to professormesser.com/701cn, or certainly you can go to the website and just choose the course notes from the menus under the Security Plus group. And we do ship anywhere in the world if you wanted to get the physical edition. And of course, the digital edition can be downloaded from anywhere in the world, so you have different options. Let's do some more questions though. Let's get through these next set of questions that I have for you. Next on our list is this question that asks, a security administrator has received a notification that an email containing credit card numbers has been blocked before it was sent. Which of the following would be the most likely source of this notification? Would that have come from a FIM, pressure sensors,
Don't compromise quality insurance for savings or your time for this ad. Hit that skip button. Or